Hello and welcome back to class. So today we'll be working on a chest pocket, and just right before we go, we'll be using a stay. This is more like a collar stay, a very light one. I mean, not very light, light one. It's lighter than the original. And then this is the part with the glue. You can see this is the part with the gum, and this part without the gum. So you place this right on your line. You can see my line. I place it right on my line like this, and then I take the pieces I want to use for my this thing, and I place it right on top just like this. So once I do this, I flip this over and then take it to the iron and press. So right now I have ironed my this thing. You can see I've ironed this, and then the next thing I'm going to be doing is placing it right here, and then I'll take it to the machine and sew. So let's take it to the machine and do that now. One more thing before we take it to the iron. You can see this line. I want to place my pocket back, and I'm not going to be cutting it straight. I want it slanted. You can see I want it to follow the line of this, the line right here. So that is just how I'm going to be cutting it, so that part will be slanted, and when I have my pocket, it will come straight down instead of tilting to one side. And then I can cut my pocket back just like this, and then let's take it to the iron and sew. I'm cutting 2 pieces of this. So right now that I'm here, I'm going to be matching this line with this what do we call it, so making sure those lines are matching, and I'm going to be starting to sew right here. You can see right from the starting point of this interfacing, the collar stay, and I'm going to be sewing to the other edge of it. Okay, now that I have this done, you can see all I have to do is flip this over. You see what it's looking like when I flipped it over. So another thing I'm going to be doing is take one of my pockets back. You see this, and then place it at the top right, at the top part of this thing, and I'm going to be sewing. So but this time around I'm going to be starting, let me show it clearly to you. I'm going to be starting about, let's say, a 1/4 of an inch before the first line I did for the lower part. So it's not going to be at the exact same position, and I'm going to be sewing that also. And when it gets to about 1/4 of an inch to get to the same position right here, so I stop, and I'm going to be cutting this place through now. Okay, now I've sewn this. I'm going to take it to the table and then cut through all these points and then iron it. So let's get to that. So right now we're here, and what I'm going to do is, you can see you're going to cut through this edge, and then you cut. Make sure you're not cutting through the thread. You just snip through all these points, and then you come here also and do the same thing. You can see this place seems longer than the lower part. That is important, so that the lower part will not be showing when you put it on. That is the essence. So what you just do is you snip through this point like this. Make sure you're not cutting through the thread. That is also very important, that you're not cutting through the thread, and you do this also. So after doing this, you can now flip it over. But before you flip it over, you want to do something. Yeah, before you flip it over, I would like us to do something. You take this point like this, or let's do it after ironing. Let's do that after ironing. So what I'm going to be doing is flipping this over, and then I'm going to put this here. Hey, sorry, I had to like take a little piece of this. So once I flip it over to the other side, I have to do the same thing here, and then press this point open. I'm going to have to press this point open, just like this. It is very important that I do that. So after pressing this point open, I should press this point also open. Okay, now that I've done this, you can see what is happening here. And when we flip it to the other side, you see what it is looking like. So one more thing I would like us to do is, look at this. I'll take my chalk and mark this point. You see this point that I marked? This point is where I'm going to be cutting. I'm going to be cutting this point right here from where I marked. And when it's about maybe half of an inch before it gets to the stay, I stop. And I repeat the same thing right at this point. And when it gets to about half of an inch before it gets to that place, I stop. And then cut it from here and also from here. So once I do this excess, I cut it and reduce it to about maybe half of an inch or 5/8 of an inch. So now after doing this, I now have to fold and press this open. And press this like this. So once I fold it and press it like this, you can see, then I put this inside like this. And once I put it inside, you can see what I'm having here. I hope this is clear enough. So you can see what I'm having. But before we complete that, what I want us to do is this point, you want to flip that point as well. Flip this point like this and iron. It's not ideal to have it like this. It is better to have it this way. And fold. So once you have this, you press it, you can see it's laying flat, and I repeat the same thing on the other side too. I think this excess has to be removed a bit. Aha. So I repeat the same process for here as well. And once I've done this, I can now flip it inside like this. You see what is happening? And once I flip it inward like this, I have my distance. So what I'm going to do is baste it in place with a thread and needle, or use pin, and I can pin it down in place. And once I pin it down in place, we are going to be, I can pin it down like this. Yeah. So I have it pinned down like this, and also at the other side too. So what I'm going to do later is I'm going to unstitch. You can see what this is looking like. Yeah, you can see it now. So what I'm going to do later is unstitch this edge. I'm going to unstitch these edges, and then flip this one inside so that it won't be visible from the outside, or cut out the excess. So that's what I'm going to do. But before we go, so we are through with the front part. Now we'll flip it to the other side. You can see this, and then attach our this thing. Flip it to the other side and attach our what do I call it? To this side, and sew our pocket bag. You see, I'm just going to have to sew the pocket bag like this. So let me do that and come back. You can see right now that I've done this. You can see what I did. I've sewn this, and then what I'm just going to do is flip this over like this, and then I'm going to be sewing all around the edges. You see, flip it to the right side, turn it like this, and then yes, and then I'm going to be sewing all around these edges, starting from here, and all over. So the length of the pocket bag should be, you're going to sew, should be about 5 inches. 5 inches would be cool. And then you do that, you sew it all across, just like we did for this pocket bag, the same exact way. So once we do that, then we are through with our chest pockets. You can see the next thing we need to do is sew this by hand with a slip stitch. I'm still going to show us that. I think I've shown us, but if I haven't, maybe I'm going to show us the exact process that I use to sew this. Thank you.